Hello and welcome to The Foolery Show, your dose of positivity for those dreary Monday morning blues, where we take topics and try to make them sound positive. Alright, first up, to make shark fin soup, they usually catch the sharks and cut only their fins off. The sharks are then dumped back into the ocean to drown as they cannot swim without their fins. Oh, okay. Alright, starting off difficult. Well, I guess one way to see this is shark fin soup typically is served to people to show that sharks are just animals that can be overcome. A lot of people have fears over sharks, and like they're just some kind of monsters of the ocean. You can't get in the water because they're sharks. And I think if it takes this horrible thing of shark fin soup to make that happen, then maybe someone could see that as a worthy investment for the future. And maybe for the benefit of shark, the whole shark species, so we don't commit genocide and kill them all. Yeah, but that's pretty much all I got. All right, that was one. All right, so next up is the tarantula hawk wasp paralyzes tarantulas with its sting and then lays an egg on the tarantula. The young wasp in the egg eats the tarantula alive to develop into a young adult. And this sounds kind of horrifying in your mind because, you wouldn't want to be paralyzed and eaten alive. But I think that this isn't a bad thing. This is actually individual targeting, right? Would it be worse to be paralyzed and die? Like let's look at other nature, right? Where animals are running on the Sahara, where they're killed, they're still alive, they're still fighting for their lives, but they just die from blood loss or all those different things, and they're not paralyzed. They're just kind of dying. I think this is very comparable. This is actually a better thing than just being eaten alive like most other animals are in nature. Humans have kind of managed to bounce out of a lot of that, but this is kind of a blessing. Paralysis and being consumed alive by something that's not savage is, someone might be able to say is better than just, dying of blood loss or any other ways of dying in nature. All right, as recent as the late 1990s, military working dogs that were retired to service due to either age or medical reasons were considered surplus equipment. And it was often assumed that these expertly trained dogs would never adapt to civilian life. As a result, they are often euthanized or turned over to foreign allies in combat zones. So I think that, having dogs in military working dogs has been a great thing, but I guess with most things, what happens to after they've been used? What happens to them after they're done with everything else? And I think that this may sound horrifying, being euthanized or turned over, but what if this dog turned around and hurt someone? Someone that was trained for the military, someone that was trained to do certain things that are fine under warfare or combat, but not well as civilian life. And so while everyone would like to save all the animals and no one wants to kill dogs, especially dogs that have saved people's lives, sometimes it is the better option. Sometimes, this animal can never go back. And because they can never go back, it's better to euthanize them or than imprison them for the rest of their lives or put them right back into the war zone. All right. Next up, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch is a collection of trash in the ocean. It covers an estimated surface area of 1.6 million square kilometers, an area twice the size of Texas and 3 times the size of France. So this is kind of a horrifying thing about how we used to store trash, and that's insane that it's 1.6 million square kilometers of just trash. But ultimately, what is it about? Where would this trash be? I mean, granted, someone could say that we shouldn't have created trash in the first place, but I think it was inevitably human nature to make trash like that. And the question is, where would it be if it wasn't in the ocean? I think it's better that it's in the ocean and it's away from society and slowly breaking down compared to being stored in like landfills or like various areas on land and polluting the land with ourselves. One might be masochistic and say, oh well, the things we created are poisoning ourselves, and so we should poison ourselves too. But I think the better option for us as a species was to store that in the ocean until we knew what to do with it. I think it's better for all of humanity, and later on, and in time, maybe we'll learn how to improve our methods, and we can go back and clean the mistakes of the past. All right, next up, taking a little different spin. According to Water Wells for Africa, it costs $4, less than a Starbucks drink, to provide a single person with clean water for 20 years by building a water well. So it's about like $4 a person with one well serving 2,000 people. And so this is kind of a big deal because a lot of people don't even have fresh water, much less a Starbucks drink. And so how can we spend so much money on frivolous things when people don't even have fresh water in other countries? And I think that there's a delusion here. The central premise, the core premise, is that you can pay someone this X amount of money to build this. But the reality is you don't know that. You can't pay someone, X amount of money in another country and it'll happen. There's a whole slew of different reasons why things aren't being done. Because I assure you, if people do want fresh water, that's a unanimous thing that is that is desired and is wanted. And it would be fair to say, granted, this may be how it actually costs. It might actually make more sense. It might be a better thing to buy that Starbucks drink and have them have another associate support, than rather pay it for it yourself. All right, the last one in our inbox is, according to the World Food Program in the United States, $1 trillion worth of food is lost or wasted each year. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, that is enough food to feed 2 billion people, which is more than twice the number of undernourished people across the globe. And so food waste is a big issue in America, as you have people wasting food that other people could actually eat. And it just shows that there's a great disparity in the world, especially when it comes to the most basic things we need to eat. However, I think a positive way to look at this is to see how well off we are. People that live in the United States see how great the country is. A lot of people are always hating on the country by saying this is a terrible place. There's nothing good about here. There's lots of issues and things. But you have to see that we waste so much food, and it's just thrown or wasted, and that must mean that we have so many better things, so many greater and better things going on, that this is not an issue. So clearly, being in this country, being in this area, is better than all those malnourished countries for sure, and better for that. And as far as the actual wasting of food itself, it goes to show you that the world's still progress. Just because we're better in the United States does not necessarily it's better across the globe. And the issue is not as simple as, we can just donate the wasted food. There's a reason. If we can generate that much food, being in an area where there's lots of people want to be in tech jobs, people want to do other things, people don't want to grow food, and yet we can produce and waste so much food, there must be something really bad going on elsewhere. So I think that goes to show that in America is actually a good place to be, and also the people here really are trying to help each other survive. And so that's our last topic for today, and the end of our show. And remember that there is almost always a positive perspective in life. Any comments, questions, or suggestions for our next show, please email thefooleryclub@gmail.com.